I welcome you to this afternoon session. In the morning, uh, I just touched upon the poem, little about the Funnel by Dylan Thomas. I was teaching that poem, Dylan Thomas, the Funnel. I even taught you the text, the six characters in search of an anthem by Louis Piranello. Hope you are understood the poem much better. And some of you were asking about the six character in search of an author, the how the question will appear in the examination. So I just thought about it. For example, I already gave you one question. So the major themes in that play, that is Six Character in Search of an Author by Louis Pirandello, there'll be general question will be asked on reality and illusion. And how does Six Character in Search of an Author explore the theme of reality and illusion? For which you have to be thorough with your answer. Of course, you can get very good information in the university self-learning material, and you are given excellent material on that particular text. And after that, after that, you have another question will be asked, that is discuss the concept of self has explored in this play. Because I know I told you there is the identity crisis in the entire text, because everyone living in the world where they have to find their existence. So the theme of existentialism is a very important concept. For example, when you read absurd literature, absurd theater, okay, and then when you read, especially the modern poems, drama, what you can come across the concept of the very basic concept of identity crisis. It's become very much relevant. For which you have to thorough with. The concept of self, how does the concept of self is explored, in this text? Otherwise, the theme of identity crisis in the text. So, based on identity crisis, because the concept of what you say existentialism, talks about the identity of any individual in the modern world. It's a very philosophical term that you need to have to throw light on that. Otherwise, there will be another question on how does discuss the theme of play within a play concept in six character in search of another. So the play within a play, I think, apart from Shakespearean text, for example, there is a concept of play within a play even in Hamlet, because the entire his dialogues, that there is a little concept of the play within a play concept in that play. But whereas this play exclusively for a play within a play concept, and it is also comedy. So there are four important questions will be asked, because as one of you are asked me about it. So there will be concept of illusion and reality, and the concept called the comedy, and then you have the play within a play concept and the identity crisis. So these are the questions will be asked in the examination. So that is all about six character in search of another. Dear students, I was teaching this text, that is the Funnel by Dylan Thomas. When you talk about Dylan Thomas, there are four important components which come to our mind. That is, though Dylan Thomas is a 20th century poet, his themes are very much 19th century poetry. For example, like the way our Wordsworth discuss in his poetry, the way he adores beauty of the nature, the way he explores his own subjective information. For example, he talks about in the prelude, or even in Simon Lee, and even in Resolution and Independence. All the poem talks about the complete, the typical nature, the poems. In a way, right, Wordsworth, even Dylan Thomas also writes poetry in the same similar mode. But he's a 21st century. He's very much the Wordsworthian in nature. I even told the way when you talk about the nature poems, romantic poetry, this the pantheism, the concept called pantheism, is very much there. As I told you, pantheism means the one who finds the God in the nature. There you can see in Shakespearean, Wordsworthian poem. And coming back to this Funnel, remember I told in the morning The Fernal, it is the name of the farm of Dylan's aunt, that is Anne Jones. And as a boy, Dylan passed many of his holidays on this farm with his affectionate and loving aunt, I said. So it was the very golden times of his life. So the days that he spends in Fernhill, they are considered as the golden days of him. So here, and coming back to the poem, remember I was teaching you this the first stanza. Let me come back again the first stanza, so that there are six stanza in the poem. So I just tell you one after another. I just give a brief introduction about every stanza here. So this is how the poem begins. I told you. Now, as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house and happy as the grass was green, this is how the poem begins with. The poem begins with he was the wandering around, he is enjoying, like another poem by Wordsworth, the daffodils. Remember, in the daffodils, he begins the poem by like this. How does it begins? I wandered lonely as a cloud. Remember, he wandered lonely as a cloud, like beside the waves and hills. So he personifies himself like a cloud. So here, the poet, he says that now, as I was young and easy under the apple boughs. So he's spending his beautiful days under the apple boughs trees. So as a young boy, Dylan used to go to his aunt's farm near, you know, uh, his place that is, I told you, the Wales. So he spends his days over there. So the poet says that he took great delight on the farm when he walked under the apple trees. So he takes the great delight when he walked under the apple trees. So I'm describing the first stanza. The house of his aunt was not very charming, so it was not very charming. It was not such a beautiful house, but yet, it seemed to the poet the quite sweet and pleasant. This is a lengthy poem. It will be asked for 10 marks. So the students are to be very careful in writing your points. You can just take down points while I describe this the poems. Okay, so he takes a great delight in on the farm when he walked under the apple trees. The house of his aunt was not very charming, yet it seemed to the poet very sweet and pleasant. So the night and the farm and in the valley were very beautiful because from the valley and the sky looked full of twinkling stars. So there is a valley and there is the stars in the sky. So for him it looks a very beautiful and an outstanding picturesque beauty. That's what he describes in the first stanza. And he also say that, remember I told in the morning, to him the whole scene looks very much golden. And he stops a vehicle, and which is driven by a driver. There is a driver, he is taking, he wants to ride on this, the wagon. The driver stops the wagon, and the poet rides it. The field around him are full of apple trees. The poet walks lordly in the middle of trees and the green plants and the flowers. The river in that region are full of light and shine. So this is how the poem it's all about here. See, the night above the dingle starry, the golden in the heydays of his highs, and the poet, he wants to take a ride on a wagons. So he was more enthusiastic. He's more zealous in terms of enjoying his days in this form. So what happens here? So the field around him are full of apple trees. The poet walks lordly in the middle of the trees, and the green plants are flowers. The rivers in the region are full of light and shine. Even the rivers are also shining here. So this is the first stanza captures here. The poet is quite happy. So now I get into the stanza second. The poet is quite happy to roam about in that area. So the poet is quite happy to roam about in the area with a pastoral joy. The pastoral, in the sense, the folk, the village lifestyle, the rustic lifestyle. So here, with a pastoral joy, because he is enjoying the beauty of the nature. So he's walking. As he's walking quite happily, and he's thinking and walking in the light of the sun, which looks quite young in the period of his boyhood. The poet again praises time that he should permit him to play and be kind to him as time was too kind to him in the golden boy of his poet. So now he says that the time is a great healer. The time is a great friend. He's giving such a precious time in this boyhood. So enjoy all these places. Probably once we get into adulthood, there'll be no time to enjoy. There is no a scope, or we are not in a the mindset to enjoy the beauty of the nature. Probably in our boyhood or in the childhood days, we can only enjoy these places. The poet thinks himself to be a hunter and the shepherd, to live quite happily in that area of the Fernhill. So the Dylan Thomas, he thinks that himself to be a hunter. I have to do hunting here. And like a shepherd, he has to take care of all the lambs. He wants to be like that, to live quite happily in that area of the fernhill. I have to enjoy in this fernhill. The poet feels quite happy to the blow is hot, to which the foxes and calls respond by barking. So look at the way he's so. Look at the merriment of him. Look at how with his immaculate attitude. He said that the poet feels quite happy to happy to blow his horn. He has to make some sound, make the blow the horn, to which the foxes and the calves respond by barking. So he expect that other animals should respond by barking. So, in the last two lines, the poet describes his joy on Sunday when the church bells ring. So there is a church which bells is ring, and the poet, he loves to listen the voice. I mean, the sounds of this church bells rings. The sounds of the church bell mix with the sound of the water, the flowing over the pebbles. And now he compares the sound of the bells with that of the water, the flowing over the pebbles in the streams. There is also valleys, there is a rivers, and there is a sounds also. So he is amidst of all this beautiful nature. The sounds of the church bell mix with the sounds of the water, the flowing over the pebbles in the streams, which seem to be very holy to the boy. For him, listening to the church bells and listening to the stream, the rivers, pebble sounds, for him it is very much the holy, the sacred for the poet. You can visualize the moment I described, the how he's in a hilly side. There is a farm, there is a chariot, there is a wagon. He wants to take a ride on that, and he wants to be the huntsman. He wants to be he wants to be the what's huntsman and the shepherd. That means probably he's here on a summer occasion, as though the entire world is under his control, the entire nature is under his control, and he's taking each and every minute time, every minute detail, every minute to enjoy himself. There is one concept called seize the day, which means make use of. The seize the day that we see in Dunn's poetry, especially when you talk about the valediction, forbidding morning, and George Herbert poetry, and there you have to make use of the time with the fullest ultimate time. So this boy, he's enjoying each and every minute, and he's there amidst of it. For him, the sounds of the church, the sounds of the pebbles in the stream, which seem to be very holy to the boy. In the last lines, a religious note has entered the poem. So now we understood that there is a religious tone is given in this stanza. For example, here, there is one. Okay, so the very word like church bell, it itself indicates there is a religious tone that we understand in the second stanza. So now let us come to the third stanza. How the poet describes in the third stanza. So all the day long, the sun was running. The boy is spending the entire days, in the afternoon. So all the day, the sun was running. It seems to be very lovely. For the boy, it seems to be very lovely. The poet saw a cottage on the hill. Now, immediately, he saw the cottage in the hillside. So he saw the apple trees, and he saw the pebbles in the water, rivers, and all that. Now he saw the cottage on the hill. So what does he do here? What does he do here? The poet saw a cottage on the hill. It was as high as a grass growing in the field. It was grieved so well. It's so beautiful, cottage. Almost looks like a big grass which has grown so much. The sounds were heard from the chimneys. There are also some chimneys, and chimneys, the factories, chimneys, and all that. The wind, which blowing over the chimneys, was creating a musical sound, and the smoke was as green as grass, and the nights were beautiful with the stars shining. So he could. See the chimneys here. You could make sense the kind of a musical sound, the smoke, and the grass, it is almost like green, and the night was so beautiful, and the stars are shining. So this is, you could see here. And as the poet came home, after that, the moment he came home, remember, there is one word called reverie. Reverie, in the sense, he recollected his memories, and he describing. So here, the poem, we could see as though the poet is he's in a mood of reverie. Whatever he has experienced during that time, and he's documenting in his writing. So, in this particular stanza, as the poet came back home, he slept and saw the dreams which showed that the whole farm was being carried away by the owls. So, he had a dream that the whole farm has been carried away by the owls. And all the night he heard the birds flying and with the other birds. And he also felt that the night jars are carrying away the stalk of hay. It also seemed the boy, the while he was sleeping, the horses had run out of the stables and had plunged into the darkness of the night. So, because he had spent his days, times in the nature, the while he is sleeping, he recollected all that. He is in a dream, and he could see all these animals like owls and horses and all that in his. And the birds all in his dream. So now we have it in stanza 4. In this stanza, the Dylan Thomas has personified the funnel as a white wanderer. How does he personify? Dylan Thomas has personified the funnel as a white wanderer. He calls it as a white wanderer. This white man has come back from the wet night, the early in the morning. So he calls the funnel like that. So now the sun is shining. It was all bright and beautiful in the bright day dawn. So he had been to the nature, and now he slept, and now again he's going to enjoy the beauty of the nature. The boy is reminded of Eden Garden. Eden Garden, that is a very precious garden. That is a very a precious and a very sacred garden. The boy, he calls it, and he is reminded of the Eden Garden, the where Adam and Eve were sole occupants. In the Eden Garden, who were there? Only Adam and the Eve, because they are the first people when the earth was created. That's what we believe in Bible, in the Christianity, that we do believe. The Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve. So there, they reminded of Eden Garden, the where Adam and Eve were sole occupants. They were there in the garden. The poet means to say that the fernal was all Adam's world. For the poet, the whole fernal, it's like the Eden Garden to him. So he compares the Eden Garden, because in the Eden Garden you have ultimate, the solace, the ultimate, the sense of pleasure, the ultimate, the sense of tranquility. Tranquility ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶಾಂತತೆ. ಮನಸ್ಸು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತವಾಗಿರುತ್ತಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಈಡನ್ ಗಾರ್ಡನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಪೊಲೈಟ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸೋ ಪೊಲೈಟ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ there is no noise. It almost looks like the heaven. For the poet, the funnel itself is like a Adam world. I am like a Adam. I enjoy in this entire form, entire the world. The poet means to say that the funnel was all Adam's world. It is Adam's world. The poet thinks that the whole farm in his boyhood is Dylan's world. For me, this is the world. Can you see a boy like this who could enjoy his entire time and place, and is making use of his time? That's the reason why I use the word called seize the day. Seize the day, in the sense you have to make use of utmost for the fullest. Okay, the boy is reminded of the Christian myth of creation. So I told you, because I told you, when the Christianity still believes, it believes that when the earth was created, and it is The Adam and the Eve were the first people. Okay, so here the boy is reminded of the Christian myth of creation. You're talking about which topic? I'm teaching this poem that's a Fernil by Dylan Thomas. I began almost 20 minutes ago, and now you're asking the topic. Okay, anyhow, probably now you have joined this session. So now I'm teaching this, the stanza the four in the stanza four, you come across this the issues of religious issues. That's reminded of Eden Garden. The poet thinks that the old form in his boyhood is Dylan's world. The boy is reminded of the Christian myth of creation. At this time the sky was bright and beautiful. The poet thinks that the sun came into a round and bright form. So the sun has come with a round and a bright form. So at the first day of creation, the boy felt that the final form was as beautiful as the world was beautiful on the first day of the creation. ನೋಡಿ, ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಮರಿಬಾರ್ದು. When you write your answer to this question, the fun hill, the poet's reminiscence and how he glorifies the beauty of Fornil ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, this is a very important line. How does he say that? At the first day of the creation of the world, it is as like the funnel form was as beautiful as the world was beautiful and the first day of the creation. He feels that in my experiences in the funnel, it is as similar to the when the entire earth was created. I think today the world, earth has created, and today I am the first one to enjoy these places. I am enjoying this. See, he's completely submerged himself. There is a kind of a prey or surrendering oneself to the nature. So this concept is very important, surrendering oneself to this nature. So probably for you and me or to other people, there doesn't seem to be a speciality. But for a man who adores nature, who completely glorifies the nature, who surrender oneself to the nature, one with the nature, the one who, as I told you, surrender himself, he can feel all that. So you could see the minute details of the minute details. He is describing in this entire the poem. So at the first day of the creation, the boy felt that the final form was as beautiful as the world was beautiful on the first day of the creation. Before the creation, and there was chaos full of the whirling matter. Before the earth was creating, what was the earth? It was full of chaos. It was full of destruction, the full of the problems. And then the horses were under the magic spell of the lovely morning, and they came out of their stables and felt the warmth of the morning. The horses were quite full of energy and the power, because horses are epitome of full of energy and the power. So here the poet is also, and in a way, horses, they also symbol of eternity. For example, when you read the poems of Emily Dickinson, especially her poems like "Because I Couldn't Stop for Death," or they talk about they're related to the issues of death. Okay, so when you talk about the horse, it indicates eternity. It indicates the eternity in the sense towards the death. But here, the because I could see that the poet is deliberately recollecting his memory toward the horse, because the horse were quite full of energy and the power. The grassy field of Fernhill were also very charming and the green. So probably here he meant only the horses or his companion. He is there as his companion because he has to rides, right, chariot. I think for that reason, they are the constant companion to him. So as I told you, the stanza has full of the six stanzas, and now I'm teaching the stanza five. So there is a last stanza. After that, so probably we'll wind up this poem. So now in the stanza 5, what happens? At the opening word in the stanza 5, what happens? This is how the poem begins with. See, under the new made clouds and happy as the heart was long, in the sun born o'er and over, I ran my heedless ways. And then how does he say? My wishes raced through the house with a high aim. So the poet is glorifying the beauty of the nature again. So at the opening, word, also opens with the glorifying the beauty of the nature. How does he glorifies it? He says that he's in a happy mood. The clouds of the hidden are new made. They're looking very new every day, like a bread from the aunt's oven. And every day the first his son is like a born over and over. So every day he finds that there is a newborn to him, the new day for him. So in this stanza, Dylan felt himself honored among the wagons. This stanza he feels honored among the birds and the animals and the peasants and the foxes, all were here. The sky is a beautiful because of new clouds. So he also thinks that this cloud is a new cloud. The boy, felt that every day that he spent in the funnel were the first day of the creation. Every day the sun and the clouds were formed anew. The boy wandered everywhere, and the bundles of hay were as high as the house. So, and then the boy cared for nothing. His activities were as blue as the blue color of the sky. He was all the time singing and very happy. Children, were playing with him quite gracefully. And the nearby student, whoever were there, the children, all of them will join with him, and he started playing with them gracefully. Because children's mind is always with a graceful, because they don't want to keep anything in the mind. They always make sure that they seize each and every moment. They enjoy each and every moment that they come across. So now we have the stanza sixth, the last stanza. Here, the poet says that he spent a childhood or a boyhood quite innocently, like innocent lambs. So in the last paragraph, the poet, the boy, he compares himself with the lamb. He says that the poet says that he spent a childhood or a boyhood quite innocently, like innocent lambs. So he personifies himself with the lambs, because lambs are known for simple and amiable and amicable and affectionate. So now what happens here? So here now he is no longer green and golden. So in the final stanza, the poet he talks about there is no longer green or golden. The days of his boyhood are gone. I think now, so far, the poet was in a reverie. He's in a, he was remembering his past incident. Now, what happens? Now, the days of his boyhood are gone. He's repenting. He's still craving for his olden days. He's craving for his days. So now he is no more energetic, which means the poet is in aged, is in the last phase of his life. How does he say here? Now he can no longer imagine that the farm is carried away by the owl, because full of owls were there, and these were the childish dreams. Now, when grown up, Dylan wakes up from his sleep. He finds that the farm does not return. So now he's in a reverie. I told you he's in his reverie. So he opened up his mind, and he finds that he's not in his childhood or his boyhood. Now he's grown up. Now when grown up, Dylan wakes up from his sleep. He finds that the farm does not return. Now the farm is childless, because Dylan has grown into a man, because now Dylan Thomas is grown into a man. In childhood, time were very kind to him, and it made him young and easy. Now the poet, realizes that he was always held in a chains by time. So now he feels that he's controlled by the time. He's under the hands of the time, and time is a one who brought all these changes in his life. So the poet feels that in his boyhood he was quite fresh and green, but now he is dying by all green things. The last line means that in his boyhood he was singing, but now he is chains of time. In the last line, the poet says that he was swinging, he's singing in his boyhood in chains, but it is always in the chains of the moon. He's always controlled by the time. So because he is repenting, but my happy days are the gone by. So, dear students, so we understood that the poem begins with a happy tone and ends with a tone of regression, a tone of regretting. He's repenting. We could see the sense, we could see the tone that the poet is repenting, that I should not have gone grown. I shouldn't have grown. So they all wanted to be in the world of innocence, the way they can get a solace. So the poem. So now I will come back to the criticism about the poem. How do we criticize the poem? The Funnel is a beautiful and autobiographical lyric of Dylan Thomas. So the Old Funnel is a beautiful and an autobiographical poem. So I told you there is a lot of autobiographical details in the poem. You can take down. For example, there will be a question in the exam. Consider the Funnel as an autobiographical poem. Then you have to narrate the whole thing. You have to tell, you have to bring out the best of autobiographical themes. So, what happens? It is about the jolly days that he spent with his aunt in the service of her, the farm marked as a fun hill. So, in this lyric, Dylan Thomas described his pleasant time of childhood. He was full of joy when saw birds and animals of that fern hill. So, this is the the Dylan Thomas experiences that we could come across in this the poem. There is an eminent critic. He talks about here that he comment that the time is a great healer. The time is the one, because time and tide wait for none. The time, it is takes an important role in everyone's life, and they the one who driving force of energy to us, and we have to adjust to the time. And as time passes, the man also gets changed. That is one thing that we come across. So eventually, in the fag end of the poem, Dylan Thomas, he is at his best. He evokes the joy, the mysteries, the wonders of his childhood. I repeat the line. So he evokes the joys, the mysteries, and the wonders of childhood. The poem is rich in sensuous appeal. There is a sensuous detail. Sensual ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸೆನ್ಶುವಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಗೋಚರಿಸುವಂತಹದ್ದು. ಯು ಫೀಲ್ ಸೊ ರೋಮಾಂಚನ ಅಂತೀರ ನೋಡಿ, ಆ ಥರ ದಿಸ್ ಪೋಯಮ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಚ್ ಇನ್ ಸೆನ್ಶುವಲ್ ಅಪೀಲ್. And what happens further? And this poem, it has this kind of the everlasting beauty of the nature. That's how the poet remember in this poem. So dear student, now I just taught you the poem, that is Dylan Thomas, the Funnel. If you have any observation, if you want to make out some observation, please put your comment in this chat box. Let us have some interaction with you people. The meantime, I would like to take up another poem by the John Keats. Remember that day I taught you one poem, that is Ode on a Grecian. The Ode and Gratian I taught you in my, I think, the third day. And today I want to teach another poem by John Keats. This poem is called Ode to Autumn. Because why did I club these poems? That's a Funnel and Ode to Autumn. The Funnel, which describes the beauty of the nature by the poet. In the same way, John Keats, he glorifies the beauty of the autumn season. So we have a different seasons, like a spring, and winter, and we have autumn season. So during the autumn season, summer season, spring, summer, winter, autumn. During the autumn season, according to the poet, it is a richest period. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಆಟಮ್ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ತರದ ದ ವೆರೈಟೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ರೈಪನ್. ಆ ಹಣ್ಣುಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗೋದು ಈ ಒಂದು ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಕಾಲ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಸ್ಪ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುವಂತ ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್, ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಜಾನ್ ಕೀಟ್ಸ್, ಈ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ವೆರಿ ರಿಚೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸೀಸನ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸೀಸನ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಈ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸ್ಗಳಾಗಲಿ, ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ಗಳಾಗಲಿ, all kind of the creatures, insect, they love to be in autumn season, because that is a rich season, richness season, because that is a season full of ripens fruits and all that. For example, there is this is how the poem begins with. So now, dear student, I have taken this poem because this poem is very much similar to the our poem, that is Dylan Thomas Funnel. That is also nature poem. This is also nature poem. So let us see how these poets, they distinguish in their own different way. For example, let me read the first line of there are three stanzas of it. This is the poem of three stanza. For example, now So, what do we see in this entire Ode to Autumn poem? So, I think in your syllabus there are three poems: Ode on a Grecian, Ode to Autumn, Ode to Nightingale. Remember, so after three poems, I'm teaching. I've taught one poem. There's a Grecian that day. So now I'm teaching you Ode to Autumn. So Autumn is a small poem of three stanzas. It gives the vivid pictures, different pictures. It gives a vivid pictures of the autumn season in nature and its affectment. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಆ ಒಂದು ವಿವಿಡ್ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ದ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಹ್ಯುಮ್ಯಾನಿಟಿ. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಮನುಕುಲ, ಒಂದು ಮನುಷ್ಯತ್ವ, ಒಂದು ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಕ್ಲಾನ್ಗೆ, ಹ್ಯುಮ್ಯಾನಿಟಿಗೆ ಹೌ ಇಟ್ ಅಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್. Yes, there's a lot of stages. For example, just now we spoke about the childhood, adulthood, and old age. In the same way, this poem is structurized. Okay, same way, there are a lot of similarities that we can come across in Ode to Autumn as well as the Fernhill. Okay, I think that's the reason why I prefer this text to teach you people. Hope you are getting. Okay, you if you have anything to share, I know you can share with me because the poems are very much appealing to us. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ ಅ ವೇ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಆ ಕವಿ ಹಾಗೆ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ಡ್ ಅಮಿಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ನೇಚರ್, ವಿ ಅಡೋರ್ಡ್ ನೇಚರ್. So coming back to this Ode to Autumn, I told you yesterday, Ode andre it is a lyric, a small song on autumn. ಆ ಒಂದು ಆಟಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಸೀಸನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರೆದಿರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಹಾಡು, ಒಂದು ಸಾಂಗ್ ಅದು. I told you this is the finest work by John Keats, and here the whole poem captures the autumn season. Okay, and I tell it in a nutshell, the gist of this text. I'm not going to teach you the line by line, but I'll give you the substance. What you call as the sweet kernel of the text, the sweet the crux of the text. This is how the poem begins with. Autumn season, autumn, autumn, season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load the bliss, with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run, to bend with the apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruits with the ripeness to the core, to swell the gourds, the plum, the hazel shells, with a sweet kernel to set budding more, and still more later the flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has over brimmed their clammy cells. So this is how the poem begins with. It's a very typical, a nature poem. So how does this poem begins with? It is a season of mist and mellow fruitfulness. ನೀವು ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್ಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದು ಮಿಸ್ಟ್, ಆ ಒಂದು ಹಿಬ್ಬನಿ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀರಾ, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಮಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮೆಲೋ ಫ್ರೂಟ್ಫುಲ್ನೆಸ್. ಆ ಹಣ್ಣು ಆ ಕಾಯಿ ಹಣ್ಣಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸ್ಮೆಲ್ the sweetness. You can smell the entire aroma of the ripened fruits, and close bosom friend with a maturing sun. Andre, this season it is a close friend to the sun. It becomes closer to the sun and the close bosom friend. Andre, autumn season gu matte sun gu they are the one another. They are the closer friends one another. They are the closer friends. Who? Both autumn season and the sun. Because of the sun, the fruit, the raw fruits turn into the well ripened fruits. You get him? But look at who can do this. Only a poet can express. ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಓನ್ಲಿ poet can say that the sun is a close friend to the autumn season, because during the autumn season, you can see the flowers, you can see the ripened fruits. So in the beginning of the poem, the poet is astonishing. He is glorifying the whole beauty of the nature. So again, he calls, and we can say that, the autumn knows how to conspire with him to load the bliss. ಅಂದರೆ ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ತನ್ನ ರಿಚ್ನೆಸ್ನ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ಸನ್ ಜೊತೆ ಹೇಗೆ he can just he can surrender himself. He can just take the blessing from the sun and to keep the richness of the autumn season. And here in the first stanza, let me give you the gist of the first stanza here. So in the first stanza, we could see that there is a lot of descriptive of the beautifulness, of the autumn season. And the keynote is struck in the phrase mellow fruitfulness. So we could see the fruits are completely ripened, and which is declared by the poet to be characteristic of the season in the opening line. So autumn is addressed as a season when mist prevail and fruits ripen. That is the first stanza. It seconds as a friend. So the first, the autumn season, which has possessed its beauty with a mist and mellow fruitfulness, and after that, it is a autumn season. It's a close friend to the sun. Sun is a closest friend to the autumn season. The efforts of the sun to load the wine creepers under the caves of cottages with the grapes and apple trees. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ರೀಪರ್ಸ್ ಬಳ್ಳಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇದು ವೈನ್ ಕ್ರೀಪರ್ಸ್ ಬಳ್ಳಿಗಳು ಆಪಲ್ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ and then the grapes trees all are there, and they make all fruit ripe and sweet. The joint efforts of the sun and the season make the gourds and the hazel shells sweat out in a healthy groan. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಒಂದು ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸನ್ ದ ಶೆಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ವೈನ್ ಕ್ರೀಪರ್ಸ್ ಆ ಬಳ್ಳಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ದೇವರ್ ಗ್ರೀವ್ ಸೋ ವೆಲ್, so healthy grown because of sun it could possible. And then they combine in producing the late flowers for the bees. ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲವರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಆ ದುಂಬಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ದೇ ಸಕ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಟರ್, ಆ ಒಂದು ಮಕರಂದವನ್ನ ಸವಿಯುತ್ತವೆ ಯಾರು ಬೀಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, until the later may be deceived into thinking that the summer will never end. So here, probably the bees they enjoy the the nectar of the flowers, and they literally enjoy it, and they will never feel that this season will far bid us adieu. We are always will be with this beautiful nature. So this is what we come across in the first stanza. In the second stanza, we have, who hath not seen thee oft amidst thy store? So again, he continues, describing the beauty of the nature. So here, the second stanza personifies autumn amidst of its treasures. ಒಂದು ಟ್ರೆಷರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸಂಪತ್ತನ್ನ ಈ ಆಟಮ್ ಸೀಸನ್ ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. The poet has talked about how autumn season it preserves all the wealth of the autumn season. Autumn season, whatever it gives to the people, they can carry it to home and they preserve in the house. So that we could see here. And so the personifies autumns amidst its treasures and the various activities it calls forth among men. It is the season of harvesting and threshing. The poet pictures of the personified autumn as sitting in a granary. There, the poet he says that it is a harvesting season. Let come all of us. Let all of us go and collect the ripened fruits. Let us collect the paddy. Let us collect the fruits and flowers and everything. It is what? It's an harvesting season. Autumn. It's an harvesting season. And then what? The poet pictures the personified autumn as sitting in a granary in a winnowing wind. So the richness of the autumn, it is there in the granary. Granary in the sense what we call as is a storehouse, what we collect and keep it there. So the autumn season, it is there in the granary. I mean, the richness of autumn season was collected. The for example, it could be fruits or whatever we collected and put it in a granary. And then what? And here the poet says that sitting in a granary in a winnowing wind, or sleeping on an off-reaped furrow under the influence of the poppy, which flowers plentiful at the time. So because the moment when you enjoy the sweet kernel of the fruits, you get intoxicated. That you could also identify. So that kind of the richness, that the fruits are always loaded with because of the sun. So autumn may be visualized as a laborer with a head load of harvested the corn and walking. There are some people who takes the bundles together, and the wealth of the autumn season, and they're harvesting and taking across, and as one watching patiently, cider being made by the squeezing juice from the apples. So they make use of all these fruits, and they enjoy and by the wealth of the autumn season. And now in the last paragraph, the poet he's in a pensive mood. The last stanza strikes a very pensive, in a pensive mood, but not sad note, and it describes the music of the season. In the last paragraph, how does it describe the music of the sound, nature? Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? And then the other lines, like the full grown lambs loud bleat from the hilly bourne, head cricketers sing, and now with a treble soft, the red breast whistles from a garden craft, and gathering all swallows twitters in the sky. And in the last paragraph, the poet says that there are a lot of cricketers, that means what you say, insect, they all make the noise because the man took the wealth and the of the autumn season, and they stored in the granary, but not leaving anything to this insect. Look at that, how poet is describing this. And here, describe the music of the season. If spring has its songs, so too has autumn. And then in the evening, when the stubble fields look attractive under the rosy light from a sun hidden behind the clouds, gnats, the insect, they sing a mournful song. I told you, all these birds, I mean insect, it's a mournful song. ಮೌನ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ದುಃಖದ ಹಾಡು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಈ ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಲಿದ್ದಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಸಂಪತ್ತನ್ನ ಅವ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದುಃಖದ ಧ್ವನಿಯನ್ನ ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಕವಿ he is describing here. And in the evening, when the stubble fields look attractive and the rosy light from a sun hidden behind the clouds, gnats sing a mournful song among the willow trees near the river. Near the river, near the river, and near the trees, and these gnats sing. How the bleating of lamb, the singing of edge cricketers, the whistling of the ribbon redbreast. These are all the insect birds, and the twittering swallows complete choral music to autumn. They all, they started making a lot of noise, thinking that this the all. The people, they're taking the entire the beauty of the autumn season. And this is how the poems ends. So dear student, in this poem, you what the these are the important lines that you have to remember for the exam point of view, like the way I told in the first poem, that is ode and aggression. Here the first line itself is very important. What is that? It is a season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friends of a maturing sun. And you have to explain these lines. And for example, these two lines, what do they indicate? The poem is describe the richness of the autumn season here. How it's a season of mist and the mellow fruitfulness. According to the poet, this season is rich with the vegetation in the sense the entire plants and the flowers and all that. It is a season when the fruits ripen and all the nature is blessed with abundance. So in this particular season, autumn season, the whole nature, it is blessed with the abundance. It is full of mist and ripened fruits. The sun helps fruits for their maturity. The poet says only through the sun, these birds, I mean, these flowers, the fruits are become ripen. So these lines shed light on the poet's knowledge about the mist and the relation between the fruits ripening and the sun. So there is a closeness between sun and the ripened fruits. Do we ever think about it? The sun is a close friend to the ripened fruits, and probably a poet can describe in this poetic language. So in the lines, the John Keats, the poet, had described the beginning of the autumn season with the beautiful wordings, the glory of the autumn season with the beautiful words, the entire the season that looks very marvelous to the poet. So this is the important the famous line from this poem. And another last important lines, like I told you, where are the songs of springs? Where are these songs of these birds? It is not at all heard here because the man has taken the ripened fruits to the home, to the granary to keep it. He's making use of all that and leaving aside nothing. So the poet, the birds, the insect, they express their sad thongs. That we could see here. So the poet describes the music of the season, recollecting the music of the spring season. He is of the opinion that anyone need not to regret that the songs of the springs can be heard no more in autumn, because autumn season too has its music. So every season has its own music. So does the autumn season has a unique music, the music of the birds and music of all the insects. So by saying this, in the evening, we could hear this the sounds of these hedge cricketers and all these birds, and the songs of the autumn season. So, dear students, so far I described the two poems. The one is, the Fern Hill by Dylan Thomas. Hope you did enjoy the poem. And here, another poem that I taught you, that is Ode to Autumn by John Keats. And so far, I could complete the two poems of John Keats, the Ode to Autumn and Ode to the Grecian. The both are the very excellent poem, gave such a reputation to the John Keats poet. And dear student, and so far, this is the fourth day. And the tomorrow I'll take up another interesting text. So now I'm going to close the session. I'm going to leave the session 10 minutes earlier because I have a meeting between 3 to 4. The university, conducting a meeting to all these people. There is a schedule between 3 to 4. So now I'm going to attend the meeting, and we all, the faculties, the chairperson, have to attend it. So I believe that you people enjoyed these 2 points, and I'm going to leave the session now. If you have one or two doubts, you can just drop in this chat box, and I'll answer it, and I close the session. So I'm leaving the session 10 minutes earlier. So that's it. So any question, if you have, you can ask me, so that I just close the video now, camera, and I could see your comment. If you have any question, I immediately answer it. Otherwise, I just close the session. Thank you, people. I'll meet you tomorrow. The tomorrow my session is there. The class, I think second semester. My class is the first hour. The same 10:30 to 11:30. So I'll meet in the first hour. Okay. So after that, our online program will be closed, and we are putting an end tomorrow. And from 19th, you're welcome in this main campus to online offline classes. Okay, you attend the classes. So thank you very much for your patience listening. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, yes. Thank you, people.
Very good afternoon, students. Can you hear me? Welcome to this fourth class of second year. I will continue with where I have left off yesterday. Students, do you have any questions to ask? Please ask me. Students, am I audible? Students, am I audible to you? Please, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಕೇಳಿಸಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಪಾಠ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. Am I audible? Very good afternoon. Tell me, am I audible? Yeah, fine. Yeah, I'll continue where I have left off yesterday. I was discussing and we were talking about one of the greatest novels of Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens. Students, can you hear me? Due to some network issue, it happened. Now, can you hear me properly? Yeah. Yesterday, we were discussing about one of the beautiful novels which I liked personally, Great Expectations, written by Charles Dickens. I liked it. I like way of narration, and I could discuss about 11 to 13 chapters yesterday. And before I continue, I would like to recollect what had happened so far in this one. And Great Expectation, written by Charles Dickens. Here, the narrator of the story, please take down the important points if you want to take down. Please take down. Students, am I audible? Am I audible? Am I audible, students? Please text me there in the message box so that I can continue. Yeah, I'll continue there. Pip is the narrator of the story. He is 7 years old when the story opens. An orphan child living with a sister named Joe Gregory and who is married to the blacksmith. The family consisting of lots of blacksmiths, his wife, and later and his brother Pip. Pip, along with his sister and along with his brother-in-law, and three of them, they stayed together in the marsh country down by the river within 20 miles of the sea. And he is the one who is the narrator of the story and who talks lots of things about his life and how he has encountered with a convict, with a criminal in the graveyard, where he comes again to the house because where he was instructed to steal some food from the house, and he comes there, he steals some food from the house, and he goes there and he gives the food to the criminal or the convict. So this is how the story begins, and we have how many chapters we have done with yesterday? Can anyone tell me how many chapters I have dealt with? We have dealt with around 10 to 15 chapters, if my memory is correct. Can anyone tell me how many chapters we have completed so far? As far as I know, I have completed with 13th chapter. So to continue with 13th chapter, I'm going to continue with 13th chapter. I'm going to summarize it because this particular chapters always deal with is written about 20 to 13 pages or 25 pages. One chapter goes to 50 pages. I don't want to read the entire text. I'll try to summarize it with 5 to 6 sentences. Please take down if you want more information about it. So chapter number 13. On the following day, Pip and Joe went to Mrs. Avison's house as desired by the old lady. After questioning George regarding Pip's prospects in life, she gave Job okay. She gave Joe a small bag containing an amount of 25 guineas, which she paid Pip as earned by his visit to her place. Yesterday, I told you that he could able to earn the 25 guineas as his wage, and she is given. He is given his wage by that particular lady. So this is chapter number 13. Chapter number 14 talks about home had never been a very pleasant place to Pip because of his sister's ill temper and ill treatment. So his sister, Pip's sister, Miss George Gregory, always a very ill-tempered and ill-treated. There are two things which we need to understand. How many of us in our childhood enjoyed our life at home, do you think our parents and sisters are very uh, generous or kind-hearted people to let us do whatever we wanted? They are always very strict. When I was a child, I'm telling my personal experience. My mother was very generous, and she never used to scold me. My father is very strict, and whatever the mistakes I commit, and he used to get the punishment. So no parent wants a child to go in the wrong path. Remember, Pip is an orphaned child and brought up by his sister by hand. Remember, just mark the word, kindly underline the word by hand. What is the meaning of by hand? By bottle feeding, not by breastfeeding. When Pip was about 1 year, maybe or 5 months or 6 months or 2 months of old, and he has lost both the parents. One day the sister has brought up Pip by her hand. That means by bottle feeding, not by breastfeeding. And that is the only reason why sister looks so ill-treating person. Because Pip wants to always be the person who is left free, who can move around and enjoy his own life. But whereas his sister wants him to be growing in his life with lots of respect in the society. Remember, there are two things: one, to give respect, and to get respect. To be respected, to give respect. And she wanted to Pip to be respected in the society. And that's what he always thinks, that she's always ill-treating Pip. But the sympathy and kindness of Joe had made the place of tolerance to Pip. But whereas Pip's brother-in-law, that is the husband of Joe Gregory, and he always gives lots of freedom. He always gives lots of freedom to Pip. Pip had to work as blacksmith's apprentice, that is Joe. He felt ashamed of himself and of the home where he lived. The trade of blacksmith, which he was now to learn, and began to weigh heavily upon his mind. He found that he had to work against a grain. He felt that he was doing something which is against his will. What he was most afraid was Estella would sooner or later find him out with his black face and black hands doing the darkest works in the farm, and she would exalt over him and despise him. That means, remember, he had already had an encounter with Estella. He already had an encounter with Estella. Here, Pip doesn't want Estella to get or to have a to have a wrong notion about Pip. Pip works with Joe, maybe another apprentice, maybe another fellow who works with as a person in the farm of that lady, Estella's sister, and he doesn't want bad impression to be created in the minds of Estella. This is chapter number 14. When we go back to chapter number 15, there is a holiday for the smithy. Let us see what happens there. And Pip had not stopped going to school, kept by Mr. Walp's great aunt, who was assisted by Biddy. Even though he was a old-time apprentice to Joe, there was another assistant in the smithy by the name Orlick, a man of very obstinate and untruly temper. One day, Pip told Joe that he would like to go and see Miss Avison, his real desire being, of course, to see Stella. Joe reluctantly agreed to give Pip a holiday, and thereupon Orlick also demanded a half-day holiday. Joe had no choice but to declare half-day holiday, all including himself. And remember, Miss Avison's farm is situated quite far away from Miss Avison's house, and Pip is working under the supervision of Joe, and he's an apprentice. Who is an apprentice? Apprentice is the person who comes there to get trained. So he declares Pip wanted to have some free time so that he can visit Miss Avison's house. His intention is to meet Estella so that he can propose his love to her. The same way, another person, Estella, wait a minute, students, there is some network issue. Yeah, students, can you hear me now? Sorry, because of some network issue. So there, uh, Pip's intention Pip's intention is to meet Estella there in chapter number 15. That is what he wanted to have, uh, half a day holiday. So that is chapter number 15. Chapter number 16, there lots of investigation by the police into the attack of Mrs. George proved fertile. There is a small attack there. There is a small fight there, and robbery did not seem to be more motive of this attack because nothing had been taken away from the part of the house, but there was one remarkable piece of evidence on the spot. She had been stuck with something blunt and heavy, and on the ground beside her was found a convict's leg iron which had been filled asunder. The police, however, said that this particular leg iron had been worn by either of the two of the convicts who have escaped the previous night from the prison ship. Beside it was Joe's considered opinion that the leg iron had been filled asunder not as few hours before but long before. And there one attack comes there where some of the criminals come and attack Mrs. Gregory there, and even the police people come there and they want to do lots of investigation what has been done there. And finally it is decided that the iron-legged foot, that is the footprints of the people who have escaped, the convicts who have escaped the previous night. And this is chapter number 16. Chapter number 17. Chapter number 17 talks about, I'll try to summarize it in one or two lines. On the occasion of his birthday, Pip paid another visit to Avisham's house. He found Miss Sarah Pockettall on duty on the gate because Estella had not still returned from a trip abroad. Miss Avisham gave Pip a guinea, which he accepted somewhat reluctantly. Thereafter, Pip started paying annual visits to Miss Avisham's, always on the occasion of his birthday. And today, in chapter number 17, just we are told that he visits Avisham's house on his birthday. And when he comes there and he realizes that Avisham has gone abroad and hasn't returned, and she hasn't returned home. And Miss Avisham gives Pip some money, and he decides to visit Miss Avisham's house once in a year annually, only on his birthday. Being today his birthday, he visited with the intention that he would meet Estella, and he wanted to express his true love to her, but his visit turns to be failure, where she hasn't returned from a trip. This is chapter number 17. Chapter number 18. Pip now in the 4th year of apprenticeship. That means he is getting trained on the 4th year in Miss Avisham's estate. On Saturday evening, he and Joe were sitting in the tree, jolly Berlin, where a stranger expressed a desire to speak both of them privately. The stranger was taken by Joe and Pip to their house, and the stranger revealed to them the purpose of his visit. Chapter number 18 is stranger visits Joe, the person who gives training to Pip and Pip. And he wanted to express his strange desire to Pip and Joe. This is chapter number 18. Chapter number 19, it is also quite a small one, tiny one, and I will summarize it. Pip now made the necessary preparations for his departure from Smithy to go to London, and he just plans to go away from Miss Avisham's garden or Avisham's place to London. He was bidding farewell to his monotonous existence, and he was already dreaming of being asked one day by Miss Avisham's to marry Estella. Look at his thinking, and he was thinking that he's going to London there, and he was saying goodbye to the people surrounded by him, and he was sitting there and he was dreaming that one day Miss Avison telling Pip to get Estella to be married to Pip. Pip is the person, always remember, is an orphaned child and who had a long vision about his life. Long vision about his life. Who wanted to be a successful person in his life. And he doesn't have that kind of reality. And he doesn't know how to face the reality in life. This is chapter number 19. Chapter number 20. And he leaves Miss Avisham's house and arrives in London. Arriving in London, Pip hired a coach to take him to Mr. Jagger's office. Mr. Jagger's office away, Pip was received by the lawyer's clerk whose name was Wemmick. The clerk told Pip to wait for Mr. Jagger in the office, but Pip preferred to go out and walk around. So chapter number 19 tells us that he has left Miss Avisham's place and he has reached London, and he wanted to meet Mr. Jagger there, and he was welcomed by the lawyer, and the lawyer tells him to sit there and wait for Mr. Jagger to come there, and he just tells that I don't want to sit and wait. Instead of waiting, I'll walk. I'll go out and walk. When Mr. Jagger comes, please inform me. I'll come and meet. This is chapter number 20. Chapter number 21, Pip taken to Edward's apartment. Again, Wemmick asked Pip if he had ever been to London before. Pip replied in negative. And after a while, they both arrived in Bernard's Inn. In means hotel. Pip was somewhat disappointed to see this locality also, because he found the inn to be the maybe in a negative attitude, and Herbert not being in his apartment, Wemmick left Pip outside the door and took leave of Pip. There, again, he was taken to Herbert's apartment there in London, and Pip was questioned whether he was visiting London for the first time. Pip says, "No, I have been visiting London before." So he was left there. This is chapter number 21. Chapter number 22, Herbert, distant relative of Miss Avison's. Let me not explain quite brief about this. And he comes to know in the conversation between with one of the servants there, and he comes to know that Herbert is a distant relative of Miss Avison's. Whenever he could hear the name of Avison, he feels happy, because is in love with Estella. Herbert now explained to Pip that he was distantly related to Miss Avisons, and now that he had gone to her house because she had sent for him to see if she could see fancy to him. Herbert's visit to Miss Avison's house had thus been a kind of a trial visit. If he had succeeded in the test, she should have made necessary provisions for him in the financial sense and might favorable impression of Miss Avison. And in any case, Herbert had not felt any liking for Estella, whom he had thought to be naughty and the last degree, and who had brought up by Miss Avison to wreak revenge on the male sex. Pep learnt that Estella was no relation to Miss Avison's and she had only been adopted by her. Remember, students, as I discussed yesterday, Miss Avison doesn't have any authority over Estella. Remember, Miss Avison is in her wedding gown for 20 years, gown for 20 long years, because on her wedding, she was cheated by the person who was going to get married. For 20 long years, and he was in her wedding gown. And she couldn't be alone there in the house, and she adopts and she wanted to bring up a child, that is adoption. She adopts a child named Estella. Look at her way of thinking. She wanted to teach Estella that she should also cheat the other people as well. Whatever is happened to her should happen to someone that is male. Pretend to be in love with them. Finally, don't accept the love. Try to cheat them. Whatever the suffering I am facing today, all the men faculty or the men generation should face it. That is the intention that Miss Avison had in her life. That is the thing that she is teaching Estella. Estella is a beautiful girl. We are given information that Miss Estella is a rich girl, rich lady, and with her money she can do many things in her life. But her intention is to teach all the people, all the men, especially men, because she was cheated by a man on her wedding day. She had to wait for 20 long years in her white globe. Yeah, I'll stop here for a moment. Students, do you have any questions to ask? Please ask me. Chapter number 22nd comes to an end. Why I'm giving more preference to lots of importance to here is lots of questions will be asked on this particular text, Great Expectations. Any questions, please text me there so that I can reply to you. Yeah. To continue with chapter number 23rd, Pip introduced to Mrs. Belinda's Pocket. Mr. Pocket, Pip's would-be tutor, that he was glad to see Pip. Mr. Pocket was the tutor, is the person who just tries to give some formal education. He introduced Pip to his wife Belinda, who smiled upon Pip in an absent state of mind. Pip learned within few hours of his arrival that Belinda was the only daughter of certain quite accidentally deceased knight who was involved for himself a conviction that this deceased father would be made. Wait a minute, I'll explain to you. Yeah, there are few things we are introduced here. Mr. Pocket is the tutor to Pip there, and he introduces his wife to Pip, where he learns that the understanding of Pip and Belinda is not quite clear, and she wanted to take some advantage about Pip. But whereas Pip, in his mind, he always thinks about Estella. This is chapter number 23. Chapter number 24, Pip now established in the Pocket household. However, every other day he would go to London to spend some time with Herbert. On the other days, Herbert would come to Hammersmith to meet Pip. In the course of his visits to London, Pip went to meet Wemmick, the clerk. Wemmick introduced Pip to his fellow clerks in the office. Wemmick also suggested that one day Pip should visit him in his lodging at Walworth and spend a night there. Pip said that he would be glad to visit or seek or avail his invitation. So finally, Pip just comes out of Miss Avisham's house there. There, now he comes to London. Now he settles at Pocket's house. And frequently he used to visit Herbert, and he used to meet lots of people in London. And even Wemmick, he visits there. Wemmick is the person who introduced him in London there. And even Wemmick introduces Pip to his fellow clerks, and he openly gives invitation to Pip to pay visit to his place at night, and he gladly avails this invitation. This is chapter number 24. Chapter number 25, Pip, Pip took so much more kindly to startup than Jamel. Jamel was more ill-tempered fellow. There is two more characters introduced to us. Startup was therefore more acceptable to Pip. Trammel and Startup, two characters introduced there. Maybe they are the people who are working there in that particular place. And Startup was more acceptable to Pip, but Pip was not as intimate with two other fellows as he was with Herbert. Herbert is very close to him, and he doesn't want to get mingled with these two fellows. He gave Herbert a half square of his boat. For that reason, Herbert often went to Hammersmith, just as Pip's half square as Herbert's chamber took Pip to London. That means Pip's intention was to visit so many places, and he doesn't want to stick in one place. His expectation in life is greater than what we expect him to be. Pip's expectations. But his mind is always stuck to one place, that is Miss Avison's place, where his heart always feels to be with Estella. Even though he moves from different place to place, and his life always moves. Let me give one example. Let us think that is a complex, and it is the where we just this place where we just keep it there, and it is one part of this one where we stick pencil here, and which is the one which rotates, and this is the place where ultimately has to come. This is the place where it is joined. His love is like a compass which is which goes all over the place, but whereas it's attached to the place of love with Alison's place with Estella, and he doesn't want to be separated, even though he goes and visits so many places, and he is always thinking about Estella. Yeah, students, do you have any questions to ask? Chapter number 20. I can't again keep on repeating. Please go through the video and you will understand further. Yeah, now we will go to chapter number 26. Invitation to dinner at Jagger's residence. So sorry, Pip is invited there to have dinner with Jagger's residence place. Wemmick had told Pip in advance that very soon Jagger would invite him and his friends to dinner at his residence. Pip was therefore not surprised when the invitation was extended to him, to Herbert, to Trumpo, and Stato. Jagger lived in the locality called Soho and was served by a housekeeper whom he had succeeded in taming and molding to suit his requirements. The housekeeper, a woman about 40, kept her eyes attentively on a master all the time that she was in the dining room. Pip also noticed that during the dinner, Jagger kept everything under his own hand and noticed that, sorry, under his own hand and distributed everything himself. In the course of dinner, Jaggers showed a lawyer he was extracted however information he wanted from each of the guests. He had the intention, because when we look into the society of those days, and we should always remember that uh, compared to the present scenario, those days people used to gather socially, maybe once in a year, maybe twice a year, there is a social gathering. And when we look into a Christian perspective, there are two major festivals which are celebrated in Christian, this one, according to the Bible or according to the Christian beliefs. There are many festivals, but there are two major festivals. Can anyone tell me what are the major festivals that are celebrated by the Christians? There are two major festivals. One is the birth of Christ and one is the resurrection of Christ. One is the Christmas and one is the Easter. So in those days, people in London, maybe people across the world, they used to get together to party with. They used to get together during Christmas to have a cup of wine and to have a piece of cake, that is during Christmas season. That's what we say. December is the month of wine and cake. It is a birth anniversary of Jesus Christ. And that is, again, that is resurrection of Christ. That is Easter Sunday. And usually, when we look into Christian history there are 40 days where usually the Lent season, that is called Lent season, usually Christians fast. I don't say that today it has already got changed. Even on Fridays, they eat non-veg or veg, whatever they prefer. In those days, it was very strict. For 40 days from the day number one from the Lent season till the Good Friday, Holy Saturday, they fast. 40 days of fasting. Jesus Christ's suffering, people used to celebrate at home. So on the why it is called Good Friday, Jesus was crucified on the Friday. Why it is Good Friday? It is a Good Friday. It is a good day where Christ sacrificed his life to rescue the people from sins with his blood. On the third day, he rose again. That is called resurrection. That is called Sunday. That is festival. So, usually in those days, only two occasions people get together and join there to have party with. The same thing here with Pip's case as well. There, the lawyer asks the people to get together to have some kind of food. And Pip is invited, and all the friends are invited to have food with the people. This is chapter number 26. And chapter number 27, a letter from Biddy about Joe's proposed visit to London. Someday later, Pip received a letter from Biddy saying that Joe would be visiting him in London. Pip was somewhat perplexed and by this news because he thought that Joe's rustic manner would cause him much embarrassment. And however, he felt consoled by the fact that Joe would be meeting him in Bernard's Inn in London, not at the house of Mr. Pockets in Hammersmith. So Joe, remember, is the first person who was teaching him the manners in the garden with in Miss Avison's place. So he would be visiting, and that is a letter he received. That is chapter number 27. Chapter number 28 talks about Pip's journey to his hometown and his fears. And he visits his hometown after many years. So next day, Pip got ready to leave his hometown to meet Miss Avisons and Estella. So after visiting his hometown, and he goes and he wanted to meet Estella and Miss Avison. It is also happened that two convicts under the charge of police officers were also traveling in the same coach. Very important fact that we need to note is there are two people who were traveling along with him when he goes there to meet Avison and Estella, to convicts means criminals who escaped, and they were traveling in the same coach. These two convicts were being taken to be put on the prison ships that stood in the river close to Pip's village. Pip immediately recognized one of the convicts as being the man who had offered drinks to Joe and Mr. Hobel, and the three Joe Bergen who had given Pip a shilling wrapped in £1 currency notes. Pip had to take great pains in now to keep himself away from these convicts so that one whom he had met should not recognize him and accost him. Accordingly, when the coach drew near Pip's destination, he actually threw down his baggage and jumped into the coach. From that point, Pip walked the remaining distance to the town. And a small description here, he fears that one of the convicts who was traveling with them in the coach was serving dinner there in that particular place. And if he discloses his name, Pip would be arrested. Remember, they have escaped from the prison, and without the knowledge of the police, they served there in that particular place, or they were there in that particular place, and if they disclose themselves there, and they would be caught, or people would be caught, and he was hiding his face there, and he just moves out and goes out. This is chapter number 28. Chapter number 29, Pip's passion for Estella. Next morning, Pip got ready to visit Miss Avison. He was feeling quite sure that Miss Avison had summoned him to tell him of her intention to give Estella in hand in marriage. Remember, he was dreaming. He was in a dreamland where he was thinking that Miss Avison would give Estella in by hand so that he can marry Estella. What mattered most to him is this time in his life as Estella, who had taken a strong possession of the heart and soul. He was deeply in love with her. It tells us that he loved her against reason, against promise, against peace, against hope, against happiness, against all the discouragement that can be. And he was against all the things in his life. He was truly in love with Estella, and he wanted to get married to her. Look at the expectation. What is the ultimate expectation of a man? And man is born as a child. Most of us are having children. Most of us are parents. When we have a children, small child, 1 day old, 5 months old, 1 year old, 6 years old. After 6 years, what we do? We enrolled that particular child in a school. What happens? What do we expect from a child? I want my son to score good marks in first standard. Even in first standard, remember, first standard and second standard, I want my son to be, or my daughter to be topper. Yeah, she moves to second standard, third standard, fourth standard, fifth standard, seventh standard, or eighth standard, or he comes to 10th standard. My son or daughter to be the head boy of the school, because I don't have any association with the school, but I just remember that head boy of the school or head girl of the school. When she comes to 12th standard, I want my daughter or a son to get topper in 12th standard, to get medical seat or engineering seat. That is the expectation of a parent. And when they grow up, as a parent, we should understand and realize the expectations of our children as well. So here, Pip's expectation was to get married to Estella. Even though he moves from one place to the another place, and finally comes to Miss Avison's place to meet Estella, and he was dreaming that Estella would be given in hand with whenever I read that particular text, dear students, I always enjoyed, even though he looks so rock, even though Pip looks moving from one place to the another place, I always have a soft corner, soft heart towards Pip. Please, students, as a teacher, as an assistant professor of the university, I tell you, have the habit of reading. Please try to analyze the character of a particular text. No text is quite difficult unless and until if you cultivate the habit of analyzing a character. That's what we say in English literature, read between lines. No text is quite difficult for a person if he or she takes interest in it. Then only you would be able to become a good lover of literature. What is your motive? What is your expectation? I tell you, your expectation is to get good marks. Sir, give me the uh, probable questions that are asked in the question paper. That's your expectations. My expectation as a teacher is I expect a quality answer, not the quantity, quality answer. In order to come out with quality answer, you should have read this quality text with quality mind. Sorry, I couldn't even second class I couldn't complete this text. Probably I will complete it tomorrow within 15 minutes, and I will continue with another text tomorrow. I'll try to complete it. Students, if you have any doubts, you can call us, you can message us. Our numbers are available in the website www.ksy.in in English department faculty. We have our numbers there. You have been given the contact numbers to contact. Please call us and tell us what are the things that to be discussed so that we will clarify our doubts, because there is going at the class. I couldn't complete the text today, and I'll try to complete it tomorrow within 15 minutes. And tomorrow I'm going to complete one more text. Dear students, I tell you there is offline classes as well for the students in various regional centers. If you wish, please to come and attend on offline classes as well. We will discuss few of the important aspects. Our department is always open from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock on from Monday to Saturday. Even Saturday is not off day for us. You can visit us. We are ever ready to clarify your doubts, even on the phone call as well. Don't call me. Don't call us at 12 o'clock night at 12 o'clock, because we too have family as well. And if you have any doubts, please clarify and get it clarified. Please. Thank you so much. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you, students.